I do not own the rights to this music.
What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and grief to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear. And all because we do not carry everything to God in prayer.
Hello, and welcome to Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron. Sunday School lesson for Sunday, April the 23rd, 2023. Our reference material for the Sunday School Summary is based upon the International Sunday School Lesson Series as published by the Sunday School Publishing Board. We are discussing Jesus Calls as the title of the spring lesson series, and it is a discussion of the connection of Jesus' earthly ministry to the establishment of the early church as documented in all four Gospels. The Jesus Call lesson series is categorized into 3 units or groups of lessons, and we are in Unit 2, and we are discussing experiencing the resurrection. The Jesus Calls Us Quarterly series documents Jesus' earthly ministry through all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, continued to the formation of the early church after Jesus' death, resurrection, and ascension into heaven. The title of our fourth lesson in the Unit 2 Spring 23 lesson series is titled Restored Friendship. Restored Friendship. And Jesus allows us to regain our relationship with Him even though we fall short in the heat of the moment, just as Peter did. The key verse comes from John chapter 21, verse 12, which reads, When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. Jesus said, Feed my lambs. The title of today's lesson, Restored Friendship, from the book of John, one of the four Gospels in the Bible, and it documents Jesus' life on earth. Now, John enjoyed a strong personal relationship with Jesus as he refers to himself as the disciple that Jesus loved. After his resurrection, Jesus appeared numerous times to his disciples and followers, providing them with convincing proof that he has risen indeed. Now, John stated that he did not record all of the miracles involved with Jesus, but he said he wrote about these things so that you will be able to believe the truth. You will believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God. Because you believe in him, you will have life with God. John goes on to record several of these appearances of Jesus. John records the final sighting of Jesus on the Sea of Galilee and the final meal shared between Jesus and the disciples, which was now the third time that Jesus had showed himself to his disciples after the resurrection, which brings us to today's lesson. There are 2 summary lesson points for today. John, restored to minister from John chapter 21, verses 15 through 17, martyred to glorify, and that's from John chapter 21, verses 18 and 19. The key words today revolve around faith, disciple, feed, and shepherd. And we know that faith is the complete trust, assurance, belief, or confidence in God. It is Jesus' question of Peter's faith, love, and or devotion to him in today's lesson. Disciples is a pupil, learner, or follower of a teacher. It is the disciple Peter as the focus of Jesus in today's lesson. Feed means to give or provide one with food for sustenance, nurturing, or growth. It is to provide spiritual nourishment for believers that Jesus charges Peter with in today's lesson. Shepherd is to tend to, care for, or guide or direct in a certain direction, and usually it's applied to animals. In today's lesson, it is Peter's charge, Jesus' charge to Peter to provide pastoral care for believers in today's lesson. And we as Christians and followers of Christ, we have a responsibility to tend to those who are not as mature in the relationship with Jesus as we are. So we have a responsibility to tend Jesus' flock just as Peter did. Our first summary point is restored to minister from John chapter 21, verses 15 through 17. And John records Jesus' testing of Peter's commitment to follow Jesus in light of the fact that Peter has already denied Christ 3 times. And he said that when they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said, "you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again, Jesus said, "Son of John, do you love me?" He answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." The third time, he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" And he said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." And Jesus said, "Feed my sheep." So Jesus tested Peter for his commitment to Jesus, that if he really loved Jesus as he said he did, then he would tend to Jesus' flock, meaning that he would look out, guide, and direct those believers of Christ who are weak and in need of nourishment, spiritual nourishment, to grow in Christ. Our second summary point is these passages from "It's martyr to glorify, from John chapter 21, verses 18 and 19. And in these passages, Jesus reminds Peter of the cost of loving him and following Jesus' commands. He said, "Verily, verily, I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands, and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. And then he said to him, "Follow him." So sometimes we have to lead a life that's worthy of the glorification of God, even though it is against us even unto death. Because if we are with Christ, we are righteous, and to be righteous is to glorify Christ. This is Brother Ron with the Sunday School Summary for Sunday, April the 23rd, 2023. Thanks for watching. Have a blessed week, and we hope to see you next Sunday for another edition of Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron.